I don't remember much about our third grade Sunday school teacher, but I do remember the classroom in which we met. If you entered the Aspinwall Presbyterian Church from 3rd Street, you would go up the stairs. Our classroom was halfway down the hall on the right. It was set up as all Sunday school classrooms were at that time, with desks and chairs neatly in a row. On the front wall where the teacher stood there was a chalkboard and a bulletin board. On our bulletin board there was a piece of oak tag set up in grids. Our names were listed in a column on the left, and the Sundays of the church year were across the top. Our teacher encouraged memorization. Each class began with an opportunity for anyone who had memorized a Bible verse during the week to stand in front of the class and recite it. If you did so correctly without any mistakes, you received a star after your name for that particular Sunday. I didn't mind memorization, and I was fairly good at it, and so there were a number of stars after my name, but for my friend it was different. He wasn't particularly good at memorizing things and didn't particularly like it, and so only had a couple of stars after his name, which is what made this particular Sunday such a surprise. When we had settled into our seats, the teacher asked if anyone had memorized a verse that they would like to recite. His hand was the first one up. The teacher called on him. He took his place in front of the classroom and began. John 11:35. Jesus wept. There was a pause when we all expected him to continue, but that was it. Jesus wept. 2 words. He smiled his 7 or 8-year-old smile and returned to his seat and received a star after his name for that particular Sunday. I'm sure our teacher encouraged us to memorize and learn about all those verses and passages from the Bible that you would expect to be taught to 3rd graders in this way. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Psalm 100, make a joyful noise to the Lord. John 3:16, for God so loved the world. I didn't appreciate memorizing those verses as a 7 or 8-year-old, but as I grew older, I did, and by that time there were other verses that were kind of added to that group of Bible verses that somehow were kind of locked in my mind. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Love God and your neighbor as yourself. Blessed are the peacemakers. God has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require? But to seek justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly with your God. Whatever you do for one of the least of these, you do for me. All of those verses have become very much a part of the fabric of who I am, kind of locked away somewhere deep in my heart, mind, and soul. I don't often think about them, but every once in a while one of them will push their way to the surface of my awareness, and I'll find myself thinking about it. Those verses come unbidden, but sometimes just at the right moment. In the church that I served as pastor, we had a tradition of every spring offering a class for 3rd grade students where they would learn about the Bible. At the end of the class, in a worship service, they would be presented Bibles from the congregation. A couple of weeks before that particular Sunday, all of the Bibles with the children's names were set out on tables in our fellowship hall, and members and friends of the church were encouraged to write their favorite Bible verse in the front and the back of the Bibles the children would receive. Which leads to this question. If there is one Bible verse that you could write in a Bible that was being given to a child growing up, what is the Bible verse you would choose? And to make it more than just a rhetorical question, I invite you to send you that verse to me. Send it to me in an email, and sometime over the next couple of weeks I'll figure out a way to kind of share with all of you kind of those verses that are the touchstone verses for our lives. Again, my email address is pdalcorn, ALCORN, @gmail.com. And just in case you still want to give it a try, there's still an opportunity for you to send me a picture or video of God, of how you imagine God. I've received a number of pictures and a couple of videos, and I'll be putting them together this week to share with you next week. Again, what is that Bible verse that you would write in a Bible that was being given to a child that you knew? That verse that is a touchstone verse for your life. My name is Paul Alcorn, and this reflection is brought to you through the ministry of the Second Congregational Church in Londonderry, Vermont.